Whether you're a seasoned gardener or just getting started, closing your tomato season the right way can make a huge difference for next year's harvest. There's a certain poignant beauty to the end of summer, a touch of melancholy as the days shorten and the air turns crisp. But for the gardener, it's not a time for sadness, but a time for reflection and preparation. Our gardens, like nature itself, work in cycles, and just as we reap the rewards of the summer's bounty, we must also ready ourselves for the quieter months ahead. And nowhere is this more true than with our tomato plants. They've worked hard all summer, rewarding us with their vibrant colors and juicy fruits, and now, as their season draws to a close, it's our turn to show them a little TLC. Today, I'm sharing pro tips for closing your tomato season successfully. From saving your seeds to preparing your garden for next season, stick around and let's make sure your tomatoes go out with a bang. First, it's time to gather in those glorious fruits. As the weather cools and the days shorten, you'll want to get those ripe tomatoes off the vine. Look for that deep, rich color that signifies ripeness. The exact shade will depend on the variety, of course, but you'll know it when you see it. And when you gently squeeze, there should be a slight give, a sign that the fruit is at its juicy best. Now, some years we have bumper crops that seem to ripen all at once, leaving us scrambling for recipes and jars for preserving. But other years, the season might be a little slower, a little more reluctant to relinquish its treasures. But don't worry, even if you've got some green tomatoes left as the weather turns, there's no need for them to go to waste. You can let them ripen indoors or turn them into a delicious green tomato recipe. There's a certain charm, I find, in bringing a bit of the garden indoors. Find yourself a sunny windowsill and lay your green tomatoes out, allowing them to catch the last of the summer sun. They might take a little longer to ripen this way, but patience, as any gardener knows, is a virtue. Or if you're feeling adventurous, why not try your hand at a green tomato chutney? It's a wonderful way to capture the tangy, vibrant flavor of those not quite ripe fruits. The beauty of gardening is that it's a constant source of inspiration in the kitchen. So, gather your harvest baskets and get picking. Enjoy the fruits of your labor, whether they're destined for a salad bowl, a pasta sauce, or a jar of chutney. And remember, even as you're harvesting, you're already sowing the seeds for next year's success. Now, my friends, let's talk about timing. Because when it comes to harvesting your tomatoes, picking at the right time can make all the difference. You don't want your tomatoes to stay on the vine too long and risk splitting or rotting from frost. A little bit of sunshine warmth on the vine is a beautiful thing, but as the nights grow cooler and the first hint of frost threatens, it's time to bring your tomatoes indoors. If it's getting chilly, pick them when they're fully colored but firm. Even a little underripe? No problem. You can finish ripening them indoors. A cool, dark place is best for this. A pantry or a cellar is ideal. Avoid putting them in the fridge as this can affect their flavor. Instead, allow them to ripen slowly in the darkness, developing their full flavor and aroma. And here's a little trick I've learned over the years. If you wrap your tomatoes individually in newspaper, it can help to speed up the ripening process. The paper traps the ethylene gas that tomatoes naturally produce as they ripen, creating a sort of mini ripening chamber. It's a simple but effective way to coax those last few tomatoes to perfection. So keep a watchful eye on the forecast, and don't be afraid to pick your tomatoes a little early if frost threatens. Remember, a tomato ripened indoors is still a delicious tomato, full of flavor and goodness. And who knows, you might even find that those last few slowly ripened fruits taste all the sweeter for the wait. Now, once you've harvested everything, it's time to think about the rest of the plant. The tomato vines, once laden with fruit, may now be looking a little worse for wear. But don't be too quick to discard them. Just as in nature, nothing goes to waste in the garden. These plants, having given us so much, still have something to offer. Cut back your tomato plants to make way for the fall cleanup. Remove any remaining stems and leaves, and make sure to dispose of any diseased plant parts to avoid pests and diseases next season. Cut them down to ground level, and don't be afraid to be ruthless. It might seem a shame to cut down what was once such a vibrant plant, but trust me, this is an essential step in preparing your garden for the coming months. Now, here's where we come to the heart of the matter. Composting. If the plant is disease-free, you can compost it, but avoid composting plants with blight or other infections. Composting is, in essence, the art of recycling on a garden scale. It's about taking what's left behind, the stems, the leaves, the faded flowers, and transforming them into something valuable, something that will nourish our gardens in the seasons to come. A compost heap is a living, breathing thing, a microcosm of the natural world. It's where bacteria and fungi work their magic, breaking down organic matter and releasing nutrients back into the soil. And the beauty of it is, it's something we can all do, no matter how big or small our gardens. So if your tomato plants are healthy, chop them up and add them to your compost heap. They'll decompose over the winter, providing valuable nutrients for your garden next year. But a word of caution, if you've had any signs of disease in your tomato plants, it's best to err on the side of caution and dispose of them elsewhere. We don't want to risk spreading any lingering diseases to next year's crops. Composting is a simple act, but it's an act of profound connection to the earth, to the cycles of nature, and to the very essence of gardening itself. Now, with our tomato plants cleared away and their remains either composting nicely or responsibly disposed of, we turn our attention to the soil itself. The ground, having nurtured our plants throughout the growing season, deserves a little TLC of its own. Just as we might pull a warm blanket over ourselves on a chilly night, so too must we protect our soil from the harsh realities of winter. Pro tip number 3, mulch and protect your soil. Now's the perfect time to prepare your garden beds for winter. Winter can be harsh, frost can penetrate the ground, wind can dry it out, and heavy rain can compact it, making it difficult for plants to thrive come spring. But fear not, for we have a secret weapon, mulch. Add a thick layer of organic mulch like straw, leaves, or wood chips. This will protect your soil from erosion, keep it warm, and help maintain moisture for next spring. It also helps suppress weeds. Mulch acts as a protective barrier, insulating the soil from extreme temperatures and preventing it from becoming waterlogged. It's like tucking your garden beds in for winter, keeping them snug and warm until the spring sunshine beckons them back to life. And the beauty of mulch is that it comes in so many forms. You can use straw, which is readily available and inexpensive, or shredded leaves, which are free for the taking in autumn. Wood chips are another excellent option, and they have the added benefit of lasting longer than straw or leaves. So spread that mulch generously, like you're tucking a child into bed on a cold winter's night. Your soil will thank you for it come spring, rewarding you with healthy, vigorous plants. And now, my fellow gardeners, we come to one of my favorite parts of the gardening year, saving seeds. There's something truly magical about collecting the seeds from our favorite plants, preserving the essence of this year's growth to be sown anew next spring. It's a way of connecting with the past, present, and future, all in one tiny seed. Pro tip number 4, save your seeds. Want to grow the same variety of tomatoes next year? Save your seeds. It's super easy. Just scoop out the seeds, rinse them, and let them dry for a few days. Now, not all tomatoes are created equal when it comes to seed saving. Hybrid varieties, while often producing impressive yields, don't always breed true from seed. But if you've grown heirloom varieties, then you're in luck. These are the tomatoes that have been passed down through generations, their genetics stable and true. Choose a ripe, healthy tomato from your chosen plant. Slice it open and gently scoop out the seeds and surrounding gel. Don't worry if it seems a bit messy. This is all part of the fun. Now here's a little tip. Spread the seeds out on a piece of kitchen paper, labeled with the variety, and allow them to dry thoroughly. This will prevent them from sticking together and make it easier to sow them next spring. Store them in a cool, dry place in an envelope. You'll be ready for next season's planting in no time. Once your seeds are dry, store them in a cool, dark place. An airtight container in a drawer is perfect. And there you have it, a little piece of this year's garden ready to be awakened next spring. Saving seeds is a simple act, but it's an act of rebellion against the throwaway culture we often find ourselves in. It's about valuing the natural world, respecting the cycles of life, and finding joy in the simple act of nurturing a seed into a plant. And there you have it, your pro tips for closing out your tomato season successfully. By harvesting at the right time, tidying up, composting wisely, saving seeds, and planning for the future, you'll be all set for an even better harvest next year. Remember, gardening is a journey, not a destination. There's always something new to learn, something to try, something to discover. So go ahead, give your tomatoes the send-off they deserve, and don't forget to subscribe for more gardening tips and tricks. Happy gardening!